13 was when I thought, maybe this will fade. By the time I turned 14, I knew it wouldn't. What started as a curiosity had become a rhythm, and that rhythm shaped how I moved through every single day. Summer made things easier in some ways, harder in others. With school out, the house was busier. My mother home more, my father stomping through the hall at unpredictable times. But summer also meant late nights. My parents went to bed early, exhausted by long days, while I stayed up, pretending to play video games with the volume low. Really, I was waiting. Waiting for the snore from down the hall to steady, waiting for the air to feel still. I'd tiptoe into the closet, heart pounding, every floorboard creak magnified by the silence of summer nights. I favored lighter dresses then, sundresses, slips, the kind of fabrics that barely touch the skin. With the windows cracked open, I could feel the night breeze against bare arms, a softness I craved. Winter was different. Layering became my ally. I could slip panties under long jeans, camisoles under sweaters, and no one suspected a thing. I'd wear them all day, even to school sometimes, walking the halls with a secret pressed close against my skin. My classmates complained about the cold, and I just smiled, knowing warmth for me wasn't only about temperature. School hallways became a stage for both lives. The boy people saw blended in, slouched shoulders, voice kept low, a permanent shrug at questions. But the secret me studied everything. I noticed how the girls styled their hair. Ponytails held tight, braids that swung when they walked, bangs pinned back with colorful clips. I envied not just the look, but the ease of it, the way it was natural for them to move through the world like that. Sometimes I mimicked them in small ways when no one was looking. In the bathroom mirror, I'd tilt my chin the way one girl did when she checked her lipstick. At my desk, I'd fold my hands in my lap instead of sprawling like the boys around me. They were tiny rebellions, invisible to everyone but me, but they mattered. The cruel part of adolescence is that everyone's trying to fit in, and anyone different gets noticed. I worked hard at being normal, but inside, I was rehearsing for a role no one else had given me permission to play. One of the hardest things about that age was sleepovers. My friends and I would gather at someone's house, pizza boxes and soda cans littering the floor. We'd stay up playing video games, joking, telling stories. But when everyone else finally fell asleep, I'd lie awake in a borrowed sleeping bag, staring at the ceiling. The other boys talked about girls they liked, crushes they hoped would notice them. I kept quiet, pretending to drift off. My crush wasn't on a person. It was on the life I imagined when I saw the clothes hanging in closets, the way fabric transformed me in the mirror. I felt alien even in a room full of my closest friends. Once, at a friend's sister's birthday party, I watched as the girls disappeared upstairs to get ready. When they came down in bright skirts and painted nails, laughing and linking arms, my chest ached. Not because I wanted to date them, but because I wanted to be one of them, laughing and linked, moving through the world as though it fit. My shoebox stash became almost ceremonial. I added not just clothes but little things I scavenged, a hair clip I found under the couch, a nearly empty bottle of nail polish my mother had thrown out. Each item felt like proof that the secret me was real, not just a dream. Sometimes, after dinner, I'd take the box out and just look at the contents, running my fingers over fabric or twisting the cap of lip gloss open and shut. I didn't always dress. Sometimes it was enough to know it was there, waiting for me, a part of me I could touch. I lived in fear of discovery, but the fear didn't outweigh the pull. If anything, it intensified it. The more I risked, the more I needed it. By 14, it wasn't only about the garments anymore. I started experimenting with my hair in subtle ways. In the bathroom, I'd wet it and part it differently, practicing styles I'd seen on girls at school. I'd use a dab of my mother's mousse, slicking it back or trying to curl the ends around my fingers. Before anyone noticed, I'd rinse it out, towel it dry, and return it to normal. I also played with my voice. In front of the mirror, I'd whisper lines in a softer tone, trying to find a version of myself that matched the reflection in dresses. Sometimes I read aloud from books, pretending I was a girl narrating instead of the boy teachers called on in class. None of it lasted more than a few minutes at a time. But each experiment was a seed, proof that I wasn't content with only one mask. For all the joy those moments brought, guilt followed me like a shadow. After undressing, folding everything back, hiding the shoebox again, I'd lie awake in bed replaying it all. What's wrong with me? Why can't I stop? Sunday mornings in church made it worse. The sermons spoke about sin, about temptation. I sat there in my stiff Sunday best, sweaty palms pressed together, convinced the preacher could see right through me. I prayed, sometimes desperately. Please, God, make this go away. But when the final hymn ended, the first thought that came back was when I'd get another chance to slip into my mother's clothes. The prayers didn't erase the longing. They only layered it with shame. It was a cycle I couldn't break. Desire, joy, guilt, shame, and then, inevitably, desire again. Even at that age, I started to imagine a future where this wasn't secret. I dreamed of a life where I could wake up and not have to hide boxes under beds. Sometimes I pictured myself as a college student, far away from home, living in a dorm where no one knew me, free to reinvent myself. Other times, the dreams were smaller. Walking through a mall openly buying clothes or being able to style my hair without rinsing it out before dinner. These daydreams were both a comfort and a torment. They gave me hope, but they also made reality feel heavier. Each morning, I pulled on jeans and hoodies like armor, while the dreams reminded me that I wanted to be wearing something entirely different. There's one day from those years I remember with startling clarity. I was homesick from school, at least that's what I told my parents. They both left for work, and I had the house to myself from morning until late afternoon. I spent nearly the whole day dressed. A blouse, skirt, tights, and my mother's cardigan. I made myself toast in the kitchen like that, butter melting down my fingers. I sat on the couch watching TV reruns, curled under a blanket, feeling more at peace than I ever did as the boy everyone else knew. For 6 hours I lived openly in secret. And when the sound of the garage door finally growled open, I scrambled to erase it all, heart hammering, clothes hidden, shoebox shoved back. But the memory of that day lingered for weeks. It was proof. If I could feel that hole once, maybe I could again. By the time I turned 15, I knew I wasn't playing a game. This wasn't curiosity anymore. It was identity, even if I didn't yet know the word for it. The boy people saw at school, at dinner, in church, that was a performance. The person in the mirror, in dresses and slips, with whispered softer words and careful twirls, that was real. I wasn't cross-dressing for fun. I wasn't imitating my mother. I was becoming myself in fragments. And I couldn't stop, no matter how much fear or guilt came with it. The pull was stronger than anything else in my life. And the more I leaned into it, the closer I came to being caught. Do you want to see what happens next? Subscribe and become part of our story. New episodes every week. Turn on the bell so you never miss what's coming next.